I'll speak to the Lord's Prayer. At the end of the day, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms has indicated that since 1999 it is illegal for a municipal council to be reciting the Lord's Prayer in their council chambers. As you begin a new term of council, you can decide whether you want to continue to do things the way you used to, or whether you do for a new term of council, in this case 4 years, do something different. But the majority agreed that it was time for a non-denominational invocation to be part of our opening.
And isn't that special? Welcome back to The Arena. I'm Michael Corran, and I've got to tell you, there are no magic words, but there are sacred deeds. There are no crucial statements, but there are essential actions. I refer to the holy tempest in a municipal teapot that is the campaign, as you saw in Brampton, Ontario, to restore the Lord's Prayer to the local council chamber. For many decades, this and many other political and communal assemblies, they began their meetings with the statement at the centre of the Christian faith, the Lord's Prayer. Recently, however, Brampton followed the lead of numerous other towns and cities across North America and Europe and used a non-denominational prayer instead. Well, frankly, I've got to say, I don't really understand why a city council should have any prayer at all before they debate the nuances of street parking, stoplight regulation, and of course, garbage disposal. Blessed are the recyclers, for they will spend eternity in a wind farm. I happen to say the Lord's Prayer every Sunday, actually, shortly before I receive the body and blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah, I say it regularly outside of church too, because it forms the essence, the quintessence really, of my life. But I don't expect my work colleagues to say it with me before we start the day, and I don't expect those who don't believe in it to say it at all. I doubt very much that the words of Jesus, mouthed robotically by indifferent or distracted politicians, will suddenly inject grace and goodness into their subsequent discussions. Nor do I think it fitting to demand the prayer be said when it is not recited with reverence or respect. Indeed, I find it rather offensive that the Lord's Prayer should be seen as perfunctory, traditional, or some sort of theological or political starter's gun. Bang! The traditional aspect is important, actually, in that those who argue for the prayer to be restored, they often use this as an argument. And one of the leaders of the Brampton campaign has spoken of the, quote, Canadian Christian tradition. But the Lord's Prayer, it's a radical declaration, a call for absolute forgiveness and purity and godliness. That's not tradition. That's revolution. If it's just part of our tradition, like the Stanley Cup or maple syrup, it's not worth much at all. But it's actually worth everything. And if politicians or anybody else believe what the prayer says, they are more than welcome to recite it to themselves, or, far more important, to live out its words in their daily lives. Now, the irony of all this is that in fighting to enforce the Lord's Prayer, the campaigners may be missing the entire point. They have, I am sure, clear hearts, but do they have clear minds as well? We speak here not of a comfort aid, not a safety blanket, but of a plea by the Son of God, later murdered by the authorities, to change the world. I don't want church and state to mix. I do want the church to transform the state. And that will not happen by cosmetic references to religion, but by grabbing politics by the neck and shaking it into the light. Our friends who art in Brampton, get a grip, guys. Devote your time to fighting poverty, injustice and racism, or helping the lonely, the grieving, the broken, the vulnerable, the falsely accused. Otherwise, guys, you haven't got a prayer.